And the mind is like a computer program. And the fact that it's on a negative loop is because we programmed it on a negative loop. One of the things that the mind loves repetition. I mean, loves it. You know, if you really watch your thoughts, this is the same old thoughts over and over again, you know, it's just kind of dishing up the same old thing. So it loves repetition. So the way you can override a program is to put in the opposite, you know, and when you start out, you know, you feel like you're lying, you know, you'll say something like, you know, you might be really broke. Gee, I was when I was making The Secret. So you might not have any money and you're trying to instill, you know, wealth and prosperity and riches. And every time you say it, you feel a contraction in your body because you know you don't have it. But, you know, truly, because I did it myself, after a while you change it. You really begin to change it. And you don't quite have that contraction anymore. And then you start to see money coming in, you know, in different ways. Or you can be given things that you were going to buy and now you don't have to buy it. So you start to see signs of land. Now, that's what I did in The Secret. You can do gratitude. That will turn everything around. That will make you feel good. That will get you off the negative rant. But those negative thoughts are coming from beliefs held in the subconscious mind. They stem mostly from our childhood, conditioning, yeah. Our parents said something to us, we just swallowed it, hook, line and sinker. You know, we're like, right, that's a belief. And so we take it in and then we have all these beliefs. And you can hear, you know, if you're talking to somebody, like if somebody says, oh, I believe da-da-da-da-da, or, because we say that all the time, or somebody says, I think da-da-da-da-da. Behind those two statements are going to be a belief. The really interesting thing, they're hard to spot because you believe they're true.
They seem real, right? Yeah.
So you don't think they're a belief. You think they're real, you know, and so they can be hard to spot. But if you start to listen to yourself, you know, I believe, or I think, or especially look at the things that you have a really strong opinion about. Because where you have a really strong opinion is a belief that's underneath that. Every time a belief goes out, you feel completely free. You know, it's amazing, amazing feeling. You just feel as light as a feather, and actually you feel invincible.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine, like if we have for example, the feeling of doubt, right? Doubt and uncertainty. Now, doubt and uncertainty play a big part in most people's lives, and they can be paralyzing, those two things. So just imagine living a life, zero doubt, zero uncertainty. I mean, incredible.
How do we get to a place of not doubting ourselves?
You can, because you need to know who you are. You need to know who you are so that you don't doubt yourself, because the one that is doubting is the ego. The one that is doubting is the mind, and it's not who we are. Then you've got to become very aware of your thoughts. The negative thoughts, they're all coming from the ego, right? All of them. Because who you are would never have a negative thought ever, ever. Who you are would never judge. Who you are is allowing and accepting. So all of those things are coming from the ego, and they are not who you are. And that voice in your head that you hear, that voice that's, you know, so familiar to you and seems to know an awful lot about you and sounds like you, that voice is not you. That voice is just a program. And somehow I was kind of brought up, and I think a lot of us are, that you're a good person if you point out the things that are wrong, you know. You have to speak up and say, that's wrong, you know, that shouldn't be happening. And so I was kind of brought up with that too. And so that's brought up with judgment. And that does not help us at all. Judgment, we need to put it in the trash. Yeah. Because that does not belong with us. And the one who is judging is the ego. It's the ego. It's judging. The one that has negative thoughts is the ego. So I had all of that going on. You know, I had doubt, I had uncertainty, I had feelings of unworthiness, I had heaps of stress, living on the edge, you know, what's going to happen next? You know, something bad's going to happen, and being really afraid. I live my life like that, and I think everybody does, and they just kind of keep it all squashed down, you know. But most people live their life that way. You know, in the last year, if you've been terrified, you know, in the last year, and really fearful in the last year, you know, all of that fear has been given to you as this lovely gift. you know, when you were maybe a child. And it's like, here's a whole lot of things to be fearful about. And then we go through fear. And I mean, it's very easy to see that there's no pandemic that is fear, a fear-based pandemic. Why do we know that? Because there are many people who are not afraid. And so if the pandemic was a real fear manifestation, then every single person on the planet would be fearful. And while there are a lot of people fearful, there are still a lot who are not.
Yeah.
So that just shows you that the fear was already here with us, you know, before the pandemic came along. I had been brought up with, we can't afford it, we don't have enough, you know, and money would come into my hands, it would slip through my fingers, you know, things would break down. The universe would do all these things to get the money out of my hands. It would just like take it away. Yeah, because I had this belief that I did not have an abundant amount of money, that I was always in struggle. And that came from my parents, bless them, you know, they're beautiful. But that came from them, you know, we can't afford it and all of those things. So I was brought up with that. The one that I had the biggest thing to overcome, the biggest thing to overcome was the belief in lack of money. And I knew I needed to overcome that for the secret to sweep the world.
To be able to attract and bring you.
Yeah, because if I didn't overcome that, how could it possibly?
Why would money come to you then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had to overcome it. I would just walk down the street and say, there's prosperity everywhere. I'm breathing in prosperity. I'd do all these affirmations. You know, I'm breathing in prosperity with every breath I take. My substance is prosperity. I am abundant. I am worthy, you know. And so I would say all these affirmations. I would have them all pinned up around the apartment that I was staying in. And so that I would see them and read them every day. So that was just one thing I did. At the time, I was in incredible debt. I was making The Secret and I just didn't have the money to make it.
Wow.
And I started out $2 million in debt, mind you, because of a whole lot of shows that went really wrong. I mean, $2 million in debt makes it sound like I had a lot of money. I never had anything like that money. But these particular movies that we're making, they ran over budget. And so I started with $2 million in debt. Wow. I remember I discovered The Secret and I went to my accountant and I said, you have to do whatever it takes to keep my company afloat. I'm going to make something that's going to change the world. I'm going to make it. You keep my company going. He just said, okay. And so I took out, oh my gosh, I maxed every credit card I had to the limit. I mortgaged my home to the absolute limit. I took overdrafts out on my company so I could make the documentary.
Wow.
And so I had crushing debt coming in on me and I needed more money to keep making it. So it was a journey of absolute luck. You know, and the luck was just an expression of what I'd been brought up with. So I had to turn that around. So I used to do this thing whereby I would do gratitude and I would listen to music and I would do as many things as I could until I felt really, really good. And I would just say to myself, I am abundant, and nothing would object. No thought would object. And I'm like, right. Now's the time to open the mail, right? Well, I'm feeling really, really good. And so then I would open the bills and I would look at each one as though it was a check. I would imagine it's a check, not a bill.
So you played a game in your mind and you're like,
I put a game in my mind.
Here's a $100,000 check.
And I would go, wow, look at all the checks I got today. And so I would do that, you know, and then I'd open them up and I'd be like, wow. I thought, what's the way that I can feel really good about money? Because when you don't have enough, it's really hard to feel good about money.
Really hard,
right?
yeah.
Really hard. The way that I can feel good about money is if I give some away. I took out these $20 bills on my credit card. I think I could access $100 or something. So I took out all of these $20 bills and I thought, right, I'm going to walk down the street, and I said to the universe, show me who to give it to. And so I would walk down the street and I was looking at everybody's faces. And then it was just amazing because the universe would just show me who to give it to. That was on a Friday. And on the Monday, I received $25,000 in my account from a place that I never, ever, ever could have expected.
Wow.
哇！ Yeah.
So powerful.
Right?
，
3 words will get you there. Actually, 3 words will get you to who you are. However, it's all of the beliefs and the opinions and the fixed ideas we have in our mind that then will make something very simple complicated,
Right.
Well, I can't do that, I'm not Buddha, I'm not Jesus Christ.